excited to be here this evening, and as I've already been introduced, let's move on to our topic for today. Today, we are talking about planning, meeting the prospect of today's employer and employee. How can planning as a discipline be used to meet the expectations of employers and employee? How can planning be useful for the would-be entrepreneur? I've already been introduced, so let's move on. The aims of this presentation is to make you think. I expect that at the end of this presentation, as we move through the process, it's a thought process, it's a thinking, brainstorming journey I'm taking you on to evaluate your life, to evaluate your company and your institution, that you will be inspired and we are going to take actions. I am going to tell you three stories, different stories. I enjoy storytelling. And I'm going to tell you three different stories that I want you to think and evaluate. What do I want us to think about? How do we deal with the change? I believe various speakers have talked about COVID-19 and how it has changed our world, or it is changing our world gradually. How do we deal with the change? I want these stories to be your inspiration, and I want us to apply the principles we learn from it. So the first story, I am talking about a physical therapist. These stories I'm sharing with you was shared by Forbes.com on the 21st of May, 2020, in the midst of COVID-19. So you can also cross-check on the story. This is a physical therapist. This is a picture I picked up myself. But the story is about a physical therapist who in the US, in the middle of the COVID-19, realized that they've been had very hit. What do I mean? If we understand a physical therapist is someone who, in the layman's word, a movement specialist who helps people improve their physical well-being with movement. So let's say after an accident, somebody loses the sense of the leg, ability to move it. That's where you need a physical therapist. So their work is a one-on-one therapy session where they are in close contact, as we see in the picture. And here is a situation where we need to observe distance. Some are with the neck, some are with the arm, and they need to touch people. And they realize that COVID-19 happens and it is difficult to keep up the business. In the midst of it, what they decided to do is to evaluate their process, see what can be done. Now they have a problem. What can they do? The first thing they actually did was to check the way they do their business and their patients. What can they do to meet their patients? And they went to plan their system again. The first thing they decided to think of is telehealth. At first, you needed to be in person to be able to meet the needs of the patient. But now they started telehealth. What is telehealth? Where people sit just like we are having a conference via Zoom, people on a video interface could have the time with their doctors where they help them exercise, send them videos, and sometimes one-on-one live session whilst the patient is in their room or wherever they are, and the therapist sits behind the computer and directs the patients. They launched an online video system, an online therapy system where many people can sign up to it and you don't have to be in person. You know something interesting about this physical therapist company? In the middle of COVID, they actually increased recruitment because they needed many hands to run the online session with them. So recruitment actually increased and they increased sales no matter how they were hit by COVID. Let's get to the next story. We know what a taco is. A taco is a Mexican delicacy with like a waffle maize meal that is like a wrap with vegetables or meat filled with vegetables or meat. And this is a taco company. They were known for one of the best Mexican tacos in the US, in the middle of Washington. They were also hardly hit because in COVID, people couldn't sit and eat in their usual restaurant with that luxury of laughing and chatting over a meal. What do? Now they had to quickly reorganize themselves. They could have just sat down. There are restaurants who just sat down and say, you know what, we wait till COVID is gone. But COVID is here with us, and seems it is not going. We are almost half of the year through. What did they do? They rechanged their strategies. Instead of people coming to sit and eat, they started doing more deliveries, drive-ins that you don't need to wait. They reduced their staff, not that they sacked them, but they reduced the number of working hours so that there is one cook, there is one server. People just drive in, pick their meals after you have ordered online, and more people went on to do delivery, and they had to acquire more vans to do their delivery, do home deliveries and company deliveries. And one advantage opportunity they saw was to make themselves more visible. So they decided to offer meals in partnership with charities to frontline workers in the hospitals, in the camps, in the so many places where people needed it, the frontline workers. And in the midst of COVID, they increased their sales because they increased their visibility. After COVID, people will still get to know them because they offered service. The third company is an event planning company. What do events have in common? Numbers. Numbers. People gathering in their 50s, in their hundreds. Event planning, like weddings, like funerals, graduations. And in COVID, these are one of the major institutions that were totally hit. Organizations hit because you couldn't have events. What did they do? They also had to think, see what they can do. They started offering virtual event planning. People thought, oh, then why do we need virtual? Then I can also set up company and family and friends can be there for our wedding. But you know what they did? They joined up with a technology company and went to their customers and told them, you know what, you were planning to have your wedding on this date and it seems we cannot have it, but we have this in place. What it actually means is that we are going to set up everything with lighting, with the beauty, with everything for you in your home or the place of your choice, with a limited number, observing all protocols, but we are giving you the best. What it means is you are cutting down on food, you are cutting down on all the other expenses that come with it. And interesting enough, people bought into it because they were able to market it, they were repackaging it. What do these three institutions or these three companies have in common? A therapist, a restaurant taco seller, and an event planner. Planning and strategy. Planning and strategy. And I'm going to show you how we can use planning and strategy as an employee or an employer to top up our game and to change the game in the midst of COVID. The strategic planning process. When we talk about planning process, it's just a means to an end. How we put steps together, see the resources we will need to achieve our aim. The first step of the planning process, it is a 5-step journey. And the very first step is goal setting. What is goal setting? I need to have a vision in mind. What do I want to do? Okay, I want to have an online masterclass session by the end of December 2020. How should my goal be? It must be SMART, as I said, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Are your goals going to be achieved within the time? You must have a time. If you sit there and, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, that is a wish. That is not a goal. You need to be specific with your goal. The next step in the planning process is identification of gaps and strategic position. These three companies identified their strategic position. They are food providers. People are going to eat, COVID or no COVID. They identified the gaps. The gaps is that frontline workers couldn't go home to eat. So we are serving them. And that is where we channel. We don't wait for the customers to come. And if you are going to identify our strategic position, we use what we call SWOT analysis. SWOT means your strength, your weakness, your opportunities, and strength. The strength, for example, of the therapist is that she is a health worker. They have the knowledge and everything. The weakness they found within is now COVID has hit them and they are limited probably by staff. The opportunity is that you still have people who are sick who need to get well who need physical therapy. The threat is that now we can't have the one-on-one session, but they took hold of the opportunity that people need us. Just like the event planning, they took hold of the opportunity that probably people's advertisements have already gone out. We are going to marry on the 20th of July, and boom, COVID is here. What do? There was still an opportunity, notwithstanding the strength. So anything you do as an individual, as a company, as an institution, see where your strength and your weakness and opportunities are. The next thing is development and prioritization of alternatives. You need alternatives. They could have said, okay, we sit and wait, like some industries have done. We sit and wait till COVID is gone. But if you decide to develop alternative A is probably just do the drive-ins. Alternative B is, okay, go to the health workers and offer services. Alternative C is just, or probably reduce all workers, lay them off. To be able to choose the best alternative, you need to develop scenarios. Scenarios means if I choose this alternative, I play it to the end. What happens? What are the things I'm going to lose? What are the benefits I'm going to have? And that is where cost benefit analysis, the cost of the choice I'm making, plus the benefit I'm going to get from it. Is it viable, a viable business? Right now, I'm a private school owner, entrepreneur. Now, COVID, students are not coming. So I shut down and my teachers are home. Nobody's getting any money and anything. The cost of keeping the school running is having 6 people. Okay, so now what do? I am going to offer an online session. My students don't have computers. Is it possible to join hands with other people to offer them this means? You need to do a critical path analysis also. What depends on the other to succeed? It's not always that money is the first step in our planning process. The next level is to formulate the plan. And you have to decide whether you are formulating a long-term, a medium-term, short-term, or you're having an action plan. And an action plan is your plan really broken down. So maximum in a year, you can just have an action plan for the next 6 months, 5 months of the year. You know what? I am retraining myself to get a new skill in addition to what I have. And in the formulation of plan, you must be ready for replan. As you implement, you replan. The last step of the planning process is monitoring and evaluation. Have we arrived? It is said that when you don't have a destination, everywhere is an arrival place for you. You need key performance indicators. As you set your goal, you must be able to tell, have I arrived? As an individual, I want to achieve this aim. Have I arrived as an individual? What will tell me I've arrived? Okay, increase in income, increase in turnover of the year. You need to have your key performance indicators. The way forward for us, what we used to think has totally changed. And it's just like having a smartphone with a dumb user. The world has moved on. We have actually a wide range of opportunities. And I really want to encourage us and inspire us that it is not totally lost. No matter what you think it is, we have a wide range of opportunities. Some strategies for employer. We need to change perspective. We need to invest in technology and research. We need to communicate and network with other businesses. Let's identify our key talents. Okay, these people are my key talents. Key talents are people who move your company to the next level. And I need to identify them, reshare the vision with them, plan with them, and see how I'm moving my institution forward, taking note of the fast-moving technology at hand. And always be ready to rethink your business goal. It is said that a good plan is like a roadmap. It shows the final destination and usually the best way to get there. But without a plan, even the most brilliant business may be lost. You need to have goals, create milestones, and have a strategy in place to set yourself up for success. What am I saying? I'm saying that in the mundane situations of life, like COVID, blossoms the beautiful roses. What are the roses we can pick now? There's a booming virtual office softwares, a lot of them, where now you don't need to be in person to own a physical place to run your business. There's a surge in online marketing. So I want to encourage parents and caregivers and women who beforehand we were always given limited by, okay, I need to care for that child or care for an old parent or whatever it is. Now there is freelance opportunities, developers, copywriters, YouTubers, and cyber security consulting. and telehealth. So you don't really need to be in person there. Before, I'll give an example. I was heavily pregnant with my first child, and at 9 months, I was invited for an interview. A company I really wanted to go. It was going to cost me more than 200 kilometers to travel by road. So I call in and say, you know what, I really want to be there, but I can't. This is my health implications. And do I have the offer of doing it online? Yeah, we will see, then we'll call you. We had the interview, but psychologically for me, I knew I was written off. I was not taking serious. And I had someone even telling me, if you really needed the job, you're gonna be there. But you know what? COVID has told us that the game has changed. Now PhD defenses are being done online, interviews are being done online, contracts are actually world-class contracts are being signed online. What it means is that we need to take advantage of the system. In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. You might have all the PhD and the certificate, but your world where you are comfortable in no longer exists. What does it mean? We need to move. In conclusion, I want you to think and evaluate your life. Brainstorm. Have time to just think. What can I do? Have a self assessment. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities around me? Which areas need improvement? How can costs be reduced? You can train online with EDX, with a lot of learning websites where you don't need money to pay. In this COVID, some people made themselves Netflix ambassadors, watching all the series and movies. Others were also learning online tools and online skills. Who is ahead of the other in this time? Learn new tools and skills. No online working platform. Repackage, rebrand, and reboot. And above all, have a troubleshooting button. When you hit the wall, make sure you press the button and be ready to reboot. And now I want you to take action. It's been a pleasure being with you, and thank you for your time.